Hey, Richie Castellano here. Today I want to talk to you about how I record guitar tracks. I do a lot of guitar recording down here, whether it be for band geek videos, solo stuff, freelance projects, or most recently the upcoming Blue Oyster Cult album, The Symbol Remains. There's one thing I always do on all of my guitar recordings, and that is to record a DI track at the same time as my amp or modeler track. So what is a DI track? Well, DI stands for direct injection. That means we're recording a track that is the raw, unamped sound of our guitar. It's just the pickups direct into the recording interface. So why do we do that? Why do we need a direct injection track? We need it for a technique called reamping. Reamping is literally what it sounds like. It's when you take the raw sound of your guitar and you play it back through another amp and record that. It doesn't have to be an amp. It could be a modeler. It can also be a plugin. It's whatever really works for your workflow. So today I want to show you how I record guitars, and to do reamping, you're going to need something called a DI or a DI box. This is a DI box. This is a Z-Tone DI from IK Multimedia. Now, the Z-Tone DI has all the basic features you'd expect to find in any standard DI, but it also has some pretty cool tone shaping options, and we're going to get into those a little later. First, I want to get the basics covered. So here's how you hook things up. Here's my guitar cable. The guitar cable is going to go into the input on the front of the DI. There we go, that's set up. Now right next to the input, you're going to notice something called link. Link is a parallel output that goes to the front of your amp. And this allows you to just pass the signal of your guitar through to the front of the amp. Cool. So there are some other features in the front, but we're going to talk about the back next. Okay, we're looking at the back of the Z-Tone DI. Now, one thing this has that a lot of DIs don't have is a 1/4-inch output. That's a really cool feature. If you have only 1/4-inch equipment, you won't need any adapters or anything like that. But for me today, I'm going to use an XLR, so I'm going to use the XLR balanced output. And this is going into my audio interface, into my Motu audio interface. It's pretty clean sounding, so I want you to really hear the sound of the DI. And next to that, we have a ground lift. Now, what would you use a ground lift for? If you're getting a really horrible buzz when you plug everything in, usually the ground lift will take care of that and get rid of the buzz. Next to the ground lift, we have a 20 dB pad. A pad brings the level down significantly. So if you plug into your interface and you're seeing everything clipping severely and getting severely distorted, you'll want to engage that pad, and that should take care of it. Something you might notice about the Z-Tone that you might not see on other DIs is this red light. That's because this is an active DI. It can be powered by a battery or through phantom power via the XLR on the back. Now that everything is plugged in, let's see how I have it routed inside my recording software. Okay, so now we're looking at Pro Tools. This is how I'm recording the session. And the first track we have here is the amp mic. That's the 57 in front of the amp, and I have that going into an API preamp. And that's going on to the first track. And then right next to it is the Z-Tone DI track, which I have going into mic 1 on my Motu 1248 interface. So now we're just ready to record. Just record enable both of these, and we're good to go. Before I start recording, let's take a listen to what the DI sounds like. So I'm going to keep my amp off, and we're going to just listen to the sound of the DI. So it sounds clean, it sounds just like I'd expect a DI to sound. Let's see if we can improve the sound a little bit. So now we're going to take a look at some of the other features on the Z-Tone DI. The gain here, this is like a preamp gain, and if you find that you're not getting enough level to your track or too much level to the track, you can adjust it here. And this only affects the DI output. It doesn't affect the signal going to the amp. So that's pretty cool. We'll leave it there. Next, we have a passive active switch. So if you're recording with a guitar or a bass with active electronics, you want to put that down. I'm keeping it in the up position because I'm using a passive telly. Now let's check out the variable impedance knob. It goes from sharp to bold. Let's give it a listen. What I'm hearing is it's giving it a little bit more oomph, a little more warmth, and some bottom end as I roll the control up. All right, let's try this control here, which goes from pure, which is a clean DI, to JFET, which should have some more coloration to it. All right, let's turn the amp on now and see what this is doing to the amp sound. One thing I'm noticing is in JFET mode, it gives the notes a little more hair, if that makes sense. It's making them sustain a little more, the harmonics are jumping out, and as I go towards the sharp setting here, it's really getting noticeable. So I'm going to try to find a sweet spot where it's giving me the right amount of sustain and it's not getting too thin. Alright, that's really cool. The notes are ringing out more. I think I'm going to keep it like this. So let's record a solo right now. Here's a solo for a song I just released called Used to Be Hot. Alright, so we just finished recording our tracks. We have the amp up here and the DI right beneath it. So let's listen to the amp soloed. Alright, sounds okay. It's a little muddy, but I think we could clean that up. Put a little EQ on it. There we go. Okay, and let's listen to the DI track. Soloed. So that sounds clean and quiet, which is exactly what we need it to be. So now let's listen to the amp, the original amp track, in context with the song. Alright, that sounds cool, and I'm sure I can do some more work on it and get it sounding even better. But now, let's talk about the whole reamping concept. So why reamping? What's the benefit? Well, what you want is to have options later. So let's say, for example, you recorded a session and you love the part you played, but the tone is not so great. Well, now you can keep that great performance and just run the DI track through another amp, or another modeler, or another plugin. You don't have to give up that track. You are not stuck. That's the reason why you reamp. Another reason is, what if there's a stylistic change in the production? Like, what if you recorded something with heavy-duty distortion and later down the line they decided to soften things up and they said, oh, you know, I really wish you did that with a cleaner sound. Well, now you don't have to redo it. It's there, you have options, and you basically saved your performance. Now when you reamp something, you can take this DI track right over here and send it back through another amp, mic it up again, which is a great way to do it, and that's the way a lot of people do it. Or you can send this back to whatever modeler you're using. To make this quick today, I'm gonna send it back through a plugin. So I have a plugin that I like to use all the time, and I have a preset on the plugin that works really great, so that's what I'm gonna use right now. This is actually the sound I use live with Blue Oyster Cult, so let's check it out. I think that sounds phenomenal. I am very happy with that sound, and I'm really glad I took this track, because now I have options. So that's how I record guitar tracks. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to thank IK Multimedia and Guitar World for making this video possible. If you liked it, please give it a like, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. That helps me out tremendously. Oh, and if you like the song I was playing, I'll put a link up here somewhere or down there somewhere where you can stream or download it. It's called Used to Be Hot. It's brand spanking new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.